Hey, Pastor.
All right, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome all of you that have already joined on the Zoom platform. I just want to make sure that our guest is online. CEO Martin, can you hear me? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, thank you very much. In just about 2 minutes, we should be able to officially begin. Just for a few minutes, we allow just a few more people to get in, then we shall be able to proceed. In the next 2 minutes, we should be good to go. So we want to just wait for a little minute so that people can get through. And I'm sure it's going to be an amazing evening tonight. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Thanks.
All right, as we have always done, I want to welcome you to this Rechabite moment tonight. For those of us who are joining us through the Zoom platform and those who are following us on YouTube Live right now, where we are also broadcasting, I want us to begin with a word of prayer, and then we shall quickly delve into a very, very important subject with a very important guest that we have here tonight. And I know it's going to be amazing. Wherever you are, you can listen to us. I ask that we bow down for a word of prayer. Father, we want to thank you today for this 13th Rechabite Moment Christmas edition. We thank you, Lord, because we know that you're doing something extraordinary in our lives and you're causing a new dimension of your blessing to come to us. Thank you for the Rechabite Moment because it's a program that we have been running through, Lord, to inspire and encourage people across the world, specifically young people and even the young adults, that they can be able to change their perspectives of what they see in this life. And therefore, this particular evening, for the 1 hour we're going to be online, we ask that this program will be impactful. Many people across the world who should be able to watch this message, their lives will be transformed. Thank you, Lord, for our guests tonight, oh God, that as he ministers his experience to people, their lives will be transformed. This is our prayer tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So I want to welcome you once again, each one of us that are following this program, either in the Zoom platform or on the YouTube Live, Johnston Sakwa 1.0. Allow me just to give a brief summary of why this program runs. Rechabite Moment is a result of a scripture in the Bible that talks about the Rechabite people who refused to be compromised because they argued that is not what they had been taught by their parents. So Rechabite Moment seeks to raise men and women of principle by bringing people on this program who have gone through specific issues. They have been able to succeed in their lives, and we can delve into their experience to become a blessing to many people in this generation. So once again, tonight we are privileged to have a very, very important guest on this platform, a man I've known for years, a man I respect, a man that has got a strategic mind, a mind that I love, the way he carries himself. And so I don't want to say many words tonight. I just want to introduce to us a guest who's known as Martin Wafula, who is the Managing Director of Law Africa Publishing Limited. Tonight, we are privileged to have this CEO on this platform, and I know that we are going to have a very, very important experience. I'm opening up my mind to learn many things, to be able to understand really what can help me in many ways of our life. The topic we're discussing tonight is developing resilience to navigate setbacks. Developing resilience to navigate setbacks. This is the topic we're going to discuss. As we have run this program before, we're going to have questions to our guests, and then we'll have questions coming through from the audience, either through the chat, or you can just raise up your question and we'll be able to ask our guests to refer or to act on it. Later on, depending on the time that is available to us, we shall be able to give again our guest an opportunity to say something we might not be able to capture through the questions. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Martin Wafula, as I've said, the CEO of Law Africa Publishing Limited. I want to welcome you and appreciate your time, man of God, and I really want to appreciate you. Maybe I just allow you to greet us before we delve quickly into the questions tonight. And you're looking wonderful. I'm privileged to see you again tonight. Karibu-san.
Thank you, Pastor. It has been a while, but I'm also happy to see you. The advantage of the virtual platforms nowadays is that even when you take a while to see people, you're constantly in touch with them. So I'm happy and privileged to be on this platform. We called it Christmas edition. I'm lucky to be the one who's speaking before the year is over. But over and above that, I'm also here to learn, because based on the conversations we're going to have, there's one or two things that I'll also pick from the audience and from the rest of us. So yeah, thank you. I'm actually privileged to have a chance to be on this platform.
Thank you very, very much. And allow me again to just appreciate your time. I think it's important for me to say we don't take any person we bring on this platform for granted. We really, really want to appreciate you and your time. I'm sure it has taken time to think about this process and also just to put your thoughts together so you can be able to impact in people's lives. Let me, as I said, first things first, tell us about yourself. Allow me just to give the audience of what I know about you. I know you are a strategic thinker. That I know. So tell us something about yourself, and then we'll be quickly go through what you have to say tonight. Thank you.
Okay. So, I don't know how to put it. I've known Pastor Sakwa for the longest time. I think I knew him in 1996. So, someone who was born when I knew him, right now they're in campus, just about to finish. That tells you the extent of our engagement. But over and above that, he's also been my friend and my mentor. So like I said, for me being on this platform, just to give back in terms of also talking to the rest of the people is a privilege. And I'm here also to learn. In terms of my personal biography, briefly, I am married to one wife. She's called Elizabeth, a very dedicated woman of God. We are blessed with 2 children. I have a daughter who is turning 9 years tomorrow, actually. Then the boy is 5 years. So that's the biography in terms of my family setting. My dad is a pastor. He ministers with Pastor Sakwa. So just for context, again, we need that to be known to the audience, because I know this is being run across several platforms, so our audience is bigger. So that's from where That's basically my background. So you asked about me having that strategic sort of a mindset. I think I picked that from the fact that I listen a lot. And I noticed the advantage of listening is you tend to craft the thought process, because when people are talking, there are ideas flying around. But when you're listening, you absorb, and now you come up with a proper context. So that has put me where I am. I'm a good listener. At least I know that's what made me who I am today. So maybe I could proceed to the topic of the day.
Yes. And thank you very much. Allow me just to say something. I'm excited about this. Yes, I agree. You are really a listener, and I know you to be a person who wants detail and wants a plan. And yes, I must say that about you. No wonder you are able to get to things that you have said. Now, let me go to another question I also just want to ask. And many people are joining through the Zoom platform, just to let you know. And we are also, as I said, we are online on the YouTube platform live. This will get to many people even as we move on. In brief, I just want to ask you, tell us about being CEO and what it takes and how are you managing? Many people just hear about, managing director. Tell us about it. Tell us what it takes and how are you managing? I think it's important for us to hear, and just people who are aspiring to get to that level. What would you speak to us? What would you say?
Okay, so I believe success is a factor of many things. The first one being personal discipline. Then on top of that, there is also having a support system.
Yeah. Just
a support system that, okay. So also having a support system that gives you a platform to try out things that you think you can achieve. So for me, I was privileged to have a very supportive family in terms of my parents. My late mom is not here, but every day she kept reminding me that, you can get to big things. The other person is my dad. Aaron is like my number one mentor all through. The other person I need to mention, otherwise Nezala Lanje, is my wife. So for her, on a very light note, there's a time she kept telling me, one day you'll be a boss, you'll be a big boss. And it never really clicked in my mind what she meant until, of course, it's been a journey for me to get here. There have been so many false starts. But deep down, like I said, if you have a good support system, then you have a slightly better chance of making it to what you want to be. And that is one of the things I'll talk about when we start discussing resilience and all that. So how does it feel being one? It's like you are a parent to another family. Okay. So you have your nuclear family, but then also out there are people who are looking up to you for direction, for mentorship. They're also going through the highs and the lows, the same things you're going through in your family, in the house. Your team goes through all that. On top of that, there is the pressure from the shareholders and the board. So in a nutshell, it's so many moving parts at the same time. And that is why it is very important. And this is not even just for a CEO, for anyone who is in a position of responsibility. It's very important for you to have a good support system. And I cannot overemphasize that, but the support system starts from, house. That's the nuclear bit. Looking into the social bit, you need to surround yourself with people who, they give you a helping hand. spiritual, you need to stay close to prayer partners, and you need to have a relationship with God. So it's a 360, because the things I've mentioned, they can take a toll on you. And almost 2 years into the role, now I understand why most CEOs have very little hair on their heads. It comes with a lot of pressure.
Yes. Wow, wow. Thank you very much. I do realize that you have a lot to talk about resilience, so and also how you navigate. So what I want to do is the questions we'll ask later, but I want to give you an opportunity just to discuss the subject matter today, so that after you're done, then we have time, then we can go into questions. So I'd like to just to invite you into that, so that you can delve into that. I'm sorry, a lot of people have joined, and then I have to mute them, but we can be able to progress. So you are welcome, Managing Director. Just take us through what you want to talk to us about resilience, and I think then we can be able, from there on, we can ask questions there later.
Okay.
You can get me?
Sure, loud and clear.
Kindly.
So thank you, Pastor, once again. And like I said, it's a privilege. This is a platform that you formed, and I like the vision that we're using it to reach the professionals, both young and old, so that they just remain rooted, grounded, and they keep growing in God's word. So it's a platform I really treasure, and for me to be a speaker again, it's a privilege. So like I said, today I wanted us to just delve into a topic that I can say it affects almost all of us: developing resilience to navigate setbacks. On a daily basis, when you're asking someone, oh, so how are you? They'll say, fine. So how are things? The common word that you'll hear is, tunangangana, like we are hustling. And there's a reason why they give that answer, because there are a lot of things they're handling at every one point. And for more than half of them, they actually do not have an answer to it. Now, for you to be able to get to the answer to the issues that you're dealing with, it takes resilience. Otherwise, you'll break down along the way and you'll never find an answer to it. So maybe before we proceed, I just wanted to look at what resilience is. And from top line definition, so I came across a definition which says resilience is the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. We've heard about people who say, I have tough skin. For them to have developed the tough skin, they have gone through incidents that toughened them, to the extent maybe they never had an option. Like giving up was not an option. They just had to find a solution. So it is those experiences we go through that then they strengthen our capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from any setback. Another definition, it also says it's the ability to spring back into shape. So if you take a ball and you hit it on the floor, most of the times it will spring back and you'll be able to catch it. That whole aspect of elasticity also is one of the aspects that define resilience. So resilience is basically your ability to bounce back from anything that stands in your way towards your vision. And then what is a setback? So I'll give an example. If I'm leaving Thika Road to go to town, and I want to be in town in 30 minutes. But so I've left maybe Kasarani Roysambu, then I get to KCA University, but there's a truck that has fallen across the road. That becomes a setback for me to get to town. Now, a setback is literally, something that sets you back from your initial course. The good thing about a setback is that it doesn't kill you. Okay. Most people who have encountered setbacks in their lives, the first choice was never to die. But how you deal with that setback is now what determines whether you will, go over the obstacle or not. So setbacks, hardly do they kill people. Whatever kills people is calamities and misfortunes. Okay. So if I was driving to town, then the truck was there. That's a setback because I can make a U-turn and come to get through Kiambu Road and eventually get to town. I will have navigated that setback. A calamity, however, is if you're going to town and suddenly it rains, floods, and the floods carry you. That can kill you. So what I'm just trying to say is setbacks are things that we encounter every day. They are never supposed to destroy us. They can only deflect you from your initial cause, but hardly will they destroy you. So you're wondering, why do we need to talk about setbacks and resilience? I'll give you 3 reasons why. In today's, the daily occurrences in life, mental health has become a common term. I think after COVID checked in, it really exposed our underbellies. And that is the time we began hearing a lot more about mental health. Until I think 10th October is celebrated as the World Mental Health Day. So why the emphasis on that? It's because every day we'll go through challenges and eventually they'll define us or they'll break us. So a good statistic that I came across, it is actually said that 1 in every 10 Kenyans suffers from mental health. Now that statistic gets even more scary if you go to the hospitals. So 1 out of 10, whether you're at the market, whether you are in church, whether you're at your place of work, 1 out of 10 people suffers from a certain form of mental health. However, if you move into a hospital, it is actually 1 in every 4 patients. So you see now the statistics become even worse. That means 25% of the people who check into hospitals, they're actually suffering from mental health. And mental health doesn't mean our friends or our relatives who are at Mathare Mental Hospital. No, that is just one form of mental health. Mental health could be depression. It could be, someone who has actually become addicted to a substance for them to remain productive. I have a couple of friends I know who at some point, they'll be like, if I don't take a painkiller, I will not survive. They will not be able to go through the day. So such things will actually form part of the mental health that we talk about. So why do we need to talk about setbacks and resilience? Because mental health is common. So we just need to talk about why we need to develop resilience to overcome the setbacks. The second point, why we're also talking about resilience on this day, is it needs to help us to understand that setbacks are inevitable, but they're also supposed to propel us to the bigger phase ahead. So I'll give you an example to just, to firm up this statement that actually setbacks are inevitable. From the biblical stories, Israelites had to go through the wilderness for 40 years for them to truly trust God. Job had to lose everything for him to realize that everything he had comes from God. That's from the biblical side. I can even bring you, so we can move away from history, we come to the current side, to the current day and age. For most of you, last Sunday, I'm sure you're rooting for either Argentina or France. I'll tell you the lesson of resilience that comes from that game. Argentina had to be pinned back almost 3 times for them to be able to finally lift the trophy, the World Cup trophy. In that whole match, there were so many lessons that we learned, some of it around leadership, others around teamwork. But the key lesson I picked from that match was resilience. Because at one point, I'm sure Argentina knew they had it. They were pinned back. They were like, not again, okay? If they didn't have the resilience, they'd have given up at that point in time. So that is why today we need to talk about, encountering setbacks, but also having the resilience and that strong mentality to make sure that you actually overcome those setbacks. I could also mention maybe prominent people, just to show you that setbacks are normal. If you look through history, most of the people who have become presidents of this country, they hardly win it on the first attempt. And even if they won it on the first attempt, they must have tried several times, probably not being the leading person, but maybe being part of a certain group that was pushing to get into power. If they gave up on their first setback, they would never have made it to where they are. And it's not just the heads of states. Even, I'm sure most of you have your friends who have tried becoming MPs or MCAs. Hardly do they win on the first attempt. They encountered setbacks. The last point I would want to mention, just to bring to your front the reason why it is important to talk about setbacks, but also to emphasize on us to the need for us to develop resilience, is the fact that we don't live in isolation. So I'll bring in the third point, which is called social capital. One of the things why social capital is important to us, it is meant to remind you that you're not alone and you don't live in isolation. So a good example of social capital is if today I was stranded somewhere and I needed some money, let's even say 5,000. There is a certain clique of friends that I'm likely to reach out and tell them, I'm stuck here, please give me 5,000. I'll be able to return next week. Now, we don't go reaching out to the entire world about our problems. We have a certain clique of, the close friends who we know can come through for us. Those people are the ones who form social capital. Those are your social capital. If you move away from, the support system, then you look at the church. In every church, you'll also have certain people who you will probably pray together about issues, or you'll be able to encourage each other about issues. That is another level of social capital. The people from whom you derive some love, some level of value, it can be emotional, social, whatever it is. So that is what forms social capital. So generally, I wanted to talk about those 3 points today to just bring to your attention that in this day and age, everyone is going through setbacks, okay? But it is also important for us to know that a setback will define you based on how you will navigate around it. And that's why we keep mentioning about thick skin. That is basically what resilience is. And even during this festive period, I'm sure most of you are going through a lot of setbacks, because maybe you planned that by December you wanted to achieve 5 items on the list. Now today is 23rd of December. We basically have 7 days remaining, and maybe out of 10 things you've only achieved 3. Definitely you encountered setbacks, that's why you're able to achieve only 3. But then do you have the resilience to pick up again come 1st of January so that you push forward for you to be able to tick off the items you've not achieved this year. So in a nutshell, from historically, we've seen that in our everyday life, we'll encounter, things that will put us down. But if we have a good support system, we have social capital, and we always remember that a setback is meant to propel you to the next level, then we'll be able to achieve what we need. I will leave it at that. I will now come back to you, Pastor Sakwa. I think at this point I can do the Q&A, but I've basically covered what I wanted to talk about today.
Thank you very much, Managing Director and our presenter today. I have learned a lot of things from what you have said. And I think you have rightly defined for us resilience and what we need to do. And you have just told us that things are not going to work all the time the way we want. We must be able to rise up above it and still focus on what we set out to do. I just want to ask, we have a big audience on Zoom tonight. I really want to appreciate that. If you have a question, just chat it on the chat box. We shall be able to pick it up, and then our guest will be able to respond to. Please don't just withhold. If you have a question that you want to ask, you can be able to speak. But before then, I want to ask you, Managing Director, a question. Many young people seek growth and development in life. They are desperate. What is the way out in your view? Many young people seek growth and development in life. They are desperate. They want to do shortcuts. They don't know what to do. What is your view and what is your way out? Just in the context of what you've spoken to us this evening.
There's a common line that we've all had. It's called trust the process. So I'll give an example. Most of us who are on this platform today, where we are is not the same level we were 5 years ago. You need to trust the process, but you also need to work on yourself, because we are in a digital age whereby we want to assume everything will happen at the click of a button. Fair enough. But even as you click those buttons, remember that you have to put in the effort. So I've seen, and sometimes I also get this a lot, people who say, please, we need you to connect us to someone. I'll just go back to the aspect of, again, social capital. For you to be able to get to a level whereby you can borrow someone something or ask for a favor from that person, you also need to earn their trust. So that is why I will just simplify it by saying, trust the process. Shortcuts might work for you, but unfortunately, you will basically run out of runway in the shortest possible time. I would again use an example of microwave versus having to cook a proper meal. So just trust the process.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think I love that, trusting the process. So you're encouraging, any aspiring person. And yes, we have shared many things with you, MD, and yes, I understand exactly what you're saying when you're encouraging us to trust the process. Some things don't just come, instantly. We really rely on a few other things. Let me also ask another question. From your perspective, does living right with God in this life matter? I mean, as an MD, do you think that from your perspective, living right with God really matters in what you're doing? Kindly comment on that.
Yes, I'll give an example. No, I'll actually refer you to the Bible. Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Okay? Once you get that right, then it is actually much easier for you to ask God for some of these things, because we all aspire for prosperity, we all aspire for good health, but have you sought the kingdom first? So living right with God in this life, just seek his kingdom. The rest of the things will follow. I'll give a good story just to firm this up. So currently at our workplaces, we have retrenchment going on. So actually, there are people who've been sent home, but there's one very close friend that I know who is a man of God. I know him. Even before the year ends, he's already gotten a place. So you see, he's not like he's meant to be serving notice, but he's already signed a letter from somewhere. And what he told me is the moment the news broke that he's going to lose his job, he just told God, hey, I've always trusted in you. So I'm also trusting you to map my next steps. So you see, he sought God's kingdom first, and his things are just working well.
Wow, that's an amazing thing to hear. We have one question on the chat that I would like to address to you, MD. Eunice, as thanks for that, MD. We appreciate you. This is the question. Our social capital, how can we build it? And how do you know who is in your corner? That's the question from Eunice coming from the meeting chat this evening.
Okay. So social capital is an aspect we build through our lives. The people we interact with at our workplaces, the people we interact in college, in church, and even our relatives. You can build, look, you might have 50 relatives, you're probably only talking to 3 of them. So it is a process that you build, through interaction with people. She's also asked, how do you know who is in your corner? So that's a tricky one. I'll probably give an example. Like for me as a leader, of course, you're leading people. There are those who are for you. There are those who are against you. And there are those who are sitting on the fence. Most of the times, it is only when you communicate, your vision to them that you'll be able to gauge and tell who is for you and who is against you. So how do you build your social capital? Express yourself, okay? If you're friends with someone, let them know the things you like, what you're planning to achieve in life, what you're working towards. In due course, you'll realize those who are pushing you towards it and those who are probably dragging you behind. That is the only way to know who to keep and who to drop off.
Yeah. I love that. I love that statement that you can then be able to know who is on your path or not. I think I love that. Another question is coming through again on the platform. There's a question about still we're discussing the spirit of trusting the process. So the question is, how do you deal with immediate bosses who limit your growth with the view of being a threat to their positions? Quite a practical question there, and this happens all the time. What to do? And now, we are delving into your role as an MD. We are really trying to get as much as we can from you so we can know how to behave. Kindly take us through.
So I've been a victim of my own success. So I understand what Rugiri is talking about. Sometimes when you do something very well, the person above you tends to think you're after their jobs. So I've been a victim of that situation back in the days, around 2018, but I learned. So nowadays what I do, and Rugiri, you can try this. Of course, some of us are smarter than our bosses, and I'm sure she's one of them. You need to make them feel comfortable in their skin, okay? Such that let them see that you're working hard to make them shine. At the end of the day, your brilliance will come out, but let it be unto their shining. We say, be it unto you according to your word. Like we say, we do everything unto the Lord. In this case, your brilliance will still show up, but never make them feel like you. Okay, 48 laws of power, never outsmart your boss.
I like that.
Yeah, just never outsmart your boss. Be brilliant, just make it like you're making them shine, and they'll get off your back.
Yeah. Wow. I just love this for that answer. One more question from Vincent says, friends or relatives, who is likely to give you more social capital? Quite a nice one there.
So today I was having a chat with my mechanic, and one of the things we learned is when we were growing up, our parents seemed to segment us from our cousins and our other relatives. So sometimes we don't talk as much because of the things our parents said. So it's a very tricky one to answer, whether it's friends or relatives. It depends with how your setting was. But generally, from personal experience, friends and strangers have opened doors for me more than my relatives.
Wow. Quite point blank. And you're right. Allow me also to just bring in and delve in my experience, if it's true. I mean, people who I'm not in any way despising or saying relatives haven't done their role in our lives, but I'll tell you, for me, people who have pushed me to do what we call personal development have really come from friends who just brought in a concern about my life. So I want to agree with you that yes, there are people who are not relatives who have actually opened doors to us. I just want to agree with you. Now, the other question I'd like to ask, even as we wait for more questions, is I want to go a little personal to you and ask, what specific life lesson changed you the most? What specific life lesson changed you the most? In your perspective, in your decisions, in your actions, what is this specific life lesson that changed your life?
I would go back to, that was the year 2018. I had several misfortunes that followed each other. So in 1 year, I probably lost everything that, makes sense to most humans. Starting from being in a fatal accident in April 2018, to a level in the course of the year, again, like I said, 48 laws of power, never outsmart your boss. So along the way, I lost my job again during that year. So there's a lot. I mean, for us and for any family person, of course, if you're losing that thing that puts food on the table, it's a huge dent. So it was probably the lowest moment for me during that year because I lost quite a number of things and quite a number of friends. But I was able to bounce back because of, social capital that I keep talking about here. And I'm also grateful that God gave me the grace to just weather that storm. Back to you, Pastor.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Thank you so much. Sorry, there was a small disruption on it, but I heard what you said, and I appreciate that. Even as we wait for more conversations to come through, I wanted to also ask you, let me ask, and this is not in any human perspective, what do you think you accomplished proud? And it's not material, it's just in any context you like to put on this in terms of resilience. I would put it to you and say, knowing and understanding you, I know you are a resilient person because the experiences you're sharing about 2018, some of them is in.
So I didn't get that question properly. What have I accomplished that counts? To say that again.
My knowledge, so I understand that. And what have you accomplished? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying what.
Okay.
Sorry, just one. Sorry, there's been a small disruption. I'm sorry. You can hear me now? You can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you. I was saying, what have you accomplished that makes you proud? And in this context, I'm saying, having known you and understand your events of 2018 up to today, I can call that in my terms as an accomplishment. And I look unto you as a very resilient person. So when you look at it in your own context, what do you think you have accomplished that makes you proud? And sorry for the interruption, again.
So I think my biggest accomplishment so far has been my ability to empower. So it has nothing to do with maybe God blessing me with the current job or anything else, but my ability to empower. And I look at it this way. In every stage of my life, I have, God has given me the grace to open doors for other people. And there are people who actually sometimes say, Martin, we are grateful because you gave us a chance, and look at where we are now. So for me, my biggest accomplishment is empowering people, and I have a list of those, and I'm grateful they are doing well. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. And allow me to say, MD, that that speaks about your heart. And many times when people are asked to talk about their accomplishments, they speak about themselves. We are here conversing with you as a managing director, and you haven't told us that, even being a CEO or an MD is an accomplishment. You have chosen to say the people you have been able to open doors to is what makes you feel accomplished. And I love that. It is a selfless idea, selfless action. And yes, and when you touch people's lives, then your life will also be touched. There's a compliment from Marianne saying, don't outshine your boss, has really captivated her and appreciates you being on this platform. That's a compliment. I really have seen it in the chat box. Now, this is a question from Vincent before I asked what I wanted to ask. There's a question right there from Vincent saying, what role has family played in your accomplishment? I know you talked about it. I mean, very many people are being on this platform. They don't mention their spouses. You are among the first people, basically maybe the second or third, was expressly talked about your family, your wife, and your children. So I like to appreciate that position. However, you can go through and answer. Vincent says, what role has family played in your accomplishments? Maybe you can say something about that.
So the first person I know who I always give my gratitude to is my dad. He's one gentleman who never gives up on me. And I'm sure where he is, he always prays about Martin. He prays for Martin. And that's one gentleman I have a lot of respect for. He brought us up, very humble by the way. But he gave us a platform to be what we wanted to be. And he never asked me what course do you want to do, things like those. It was always up to me. So I only report back to him and say, Dad, I have finished this. I'm planning to do this. So that's a very supportive parent. Obviously, my spouse, she's also very resilient because we've had low moments in terms of my journey. Obviously, people leave, but she had that option, but she stayed. So I would say that gave me the platform to just, propel myself, and also the prayers from the children. So every evening when we are going to sleep, we always pray together. And sometimes you'd hear my daughter saying, I pray that, Dad can move to, become someone bigger and all that, not bigger in size, but in terms of, things that I usually tell her I want to achieve. So in terms of support from family, obviously that moral support, prayers, and just giving me a conducive environment. Like when I come from work and I have all the pressure from the directors, at least I know I'm going to a place that is peaceful. I hope I've answered, Vincent.
Yeah, thank you. I love your response to that. What's in your opinion would you have done differently 10 years ago to make you an MD earlier? That's a question again for Vincent. Is there anything you think you would have done, differently? And that's what I think I didn't ask about that, but yes, it's still okay to make a comment on it again. Thank you for the questions coming through the platform, so we can be able to do that. Please respond on that, Martin.
So probably I would not change anything. Maybe, okay, when I was growing up, I wanted to be someone before I turned 40, but I got that position when I was at 41. But I'll go back to the Bible. The Israelites needed to go through the wilderness for 40 years to get to the promised land. A journey that could have taken them, is it 11 days, Pastor Sakwa?
Yeah, around there, yes, 11, 14 days, yes.
So it would have happened in 11 days, but it took 40 years. Obviously, in the 40 years, there were lessons they had to learn. If I had become an MD 10 years ago, there are some lessons I would not have gone through and learned that have made me a better person today. So I would not wish to change anything.
Wow, what an illustration! I think I love what you're saying, and I agree with you, because there are some things MD would agree with me. What our parents told us when we were children, we did not understand until we have the children ourselves. Then we can know what really our parents meant when they told us to do something or not to do something. So I'm agreeing with you. There are lessons we learn through the process that makes us better. So I'm really in total agreement with what you're saying. Now, this program, known as Rechabite Moments, is premised upon building a society which is principled society, principled at the place of work, that we can be friends at work and still be professional. Yeah, and that's something, there's a line that people sometimes don't pick, and I would like you to speak on it as an MD. There are people who think when they're your friends, when they do a mistake, you'll not punish. So is it possible to have a principled society upon which this program is premised on? Is it possible to have a principled society?
I would say yes, and we pick this from, like I say, I'll still go back to the good book. There's a reason why we had the 10 commandments. They were to bring order and to make sure that there's discipline. In our own houses, we have a certain way of doing things. If I visited your house today, there's a certain way you do things that is different from my own house. So even in terms of workplace, how we relate out there in other forums, again, I believe there is need to just have a principled society which, has the do's and the don'ts, and just, conforms in many ways. So yeah, it's possible to have that, and it's a good thing you're pushing it through this platform. Back to you, Pastor. You're on mute, just in case you're talking.
I'm sorry. So this is a question from Marianne, who says time is running out, and so I'm saying I would rather not ask and allow this question to come through. This is a question: how do you know when to stop in your desire to impress in order to not achieve the opposite of what you intended? How do you know when to stop in your desire to impress in order to not achieve the opposite of what you intended? That's Marianne asking. Would you please comment on that?
So this takes me back to how you create social capital. You need to learn people, and you can only learn people when you constantly interact with them. Same case with your boss. You need to learn how they do their things. That will help you to determine that you're not over-impressing or you're not underdoing it. Like I said, 40 28 laws of power. Again, remember, just make him shine. Your time will come. I've gone through this. I made people shine. 3 bosses in a row. The 4th time, my time came. So just remember that.
Wow, I just love that. I love that. We have got about 3 minutes. I don't want to ask a question. I'll just like you to make your closing remarks. And I really, really appreciate what you have had. And Marianne says, thank you. Let me give you this platform and this open time. Just tell us anything I might not have asked or something you feel you left out to say. Kindly do it right now.
Okay, so maybe just in conclusion, I would say that we all get through, tough moments and setbacks. But remember that setbacks are meant to bring out the best in you. I would just also like to emphasize the importance of social capital. It's very important. And that includes your family. Make sure you have a good supporting system around you. And over and above that, for the youth who are in this forum, again, make sure you set your goals and remain focused on them. Remember, Obama became a president in his 40s. Trump became a president when he was about 70. So trust the process. If it's happening for someone else and it's not happening for you, it doesn't mean you are any inferior. Trust the process. Just make sure you set your goals and remain focused on them. To the rest of us, I think, remember, setbacks happen. Find a good support system and you'll be just fine. I think that those would be my closing remarks. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you very, very much, MD Martin Wafula, Law Africa Publishing Limited. Thank you so much. This has been so insightful. Allow me just to tell the audience that we do this program every month, ordinarily on 9th of every month, but when there are issues that cause us not to have it, then we can do like we have done this month. We want to tell you that we also are happy about the insights, the comments, the questions make this program better. So I want to just let and invite you that in the next program we're going to circulate the link and the link and the day. We would like you to also join us when we have it next time. Otherwise, without any further ado, I want to appreciate all of you, and more specifically to the MD Martin Wafula for choosing to be with us tonight. I really want to appreciate you very, very, very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to bring this to a close, and I hope and pray that again, as time comes by, you shall be able to avail ourselves and be blessed. Thank you. A lot of compliments for you, Martin, coming from Shiro, and everybody thanking you for your insights. So thank you very